video game tournaments have come a long way from the days of dank basements and sweaty game stores. It's not uncommon to see events sell out stadiums, pack arenas, and stream to audiences in the hundreds of thousands. But not all tournaments are the same. And sometimes, when you're the new kid on the block and trying to get noticed, you have to think outside the box. This was the mindset for Gaming Paradise, a tournament which was determined to combine the fast-paced world of esports with the luxury and leisure of a 5-star resort. A dream vacation for the top teams in the world who would play their matches against a scenic seaside backdrop. But not all was as it seemed, and the esports oasis turned out to be a mirage, becoming much more than anyone had bargained for. This is the story of Gaming Paradise, possibly the worst run event in esports history. Gaming Paradise was a Slovenian gaming event that ran from September 6th to 13th, 2015. Its organizer, Sasha Bulak, hoped to combine a holiday experience along the Adriatic coast with a week of esports competition featuring multiple tournaments and a collective prize pool of $100,000. To accentuate the paradise aspect of the event, players were going to stay in expensive suites and play their matches outdoors by the beautiful beach. There were promises of live music and huge crowds, and it seemed like it would be a truly unforgettable experience for everyone involved. Plus, the event organizers offered to cover the expenses of every team involved, a deal that seemed almost too good to be true. And as it turns out, it was too good to be true. Pretty quickly, Gaming Paradise turned into the esports equivalent of the infamous Fyre festival. With experience in software development, but nothing in esports itself, Bulak founded the host company, The Gaming Resort, in 2014, as his first foray into the world of competitive video games. Going into the event, no one had any illusions about Bulak's esports experience. It was his first tournament, and there was no track record to base an opinion on. Gaming Paradise was originally going to host 2 main events, one for CSGO and one for Dota 2. The CSGO event featured massive names like Na'Vi, Virtus.pro, French super team Titan, Mouse Esports, and Team Kinguin, among others, while the Dota 2 competition was supposed to feature Team Secret, Ninjas in Pajamas, Virtus.pro, and more. As far as how the tournament was being run, things seemed pretty straightforward on the surface. Bulak's company, The Gaming Resort, intended to fund the operation, while Gaming RS was a company subcontracted to take care of all the organizing. But even before the event began, there were already concerns. With only 200 tickets sold instead of the planned 3,000, the tournament was dangerously underfunded, which would have disastrous effects down the line. See, the Gaming Resort had assured teams that they would have their expenses covered. Unfortunately, it took a concerningly long time to process the money that they were supposed to use to book flights for players and staff. When questions about the delays came up, teams were told that the credit card being used to book flights had a €3,000 per day limit. Coincidentally, this happened to also be the same amount as the travel stipend promised to each team. According to Team Complexity's COO, Kyle Bautista, their ticket costs exceeded the limit, coming in at $5,800, which meant that they had to pay the remaining out of pocket. But eventually, all of the teams got there. The CSGO players were the first to arrive, but instead of being greeted by a member of the Gaming Paradise staff, they were left stranded at the airport for hours, with no sign of the promised shuttles to take them to their hotels. According to then Mouse Esports manager, Christian Lenz, they had to wait 2 hours for a shuttle to arrive, only to then take another 3-hour ride to the venue in an overcrowded minibus. When the teams finally arrived, the players were met with strange looks. According to the management of several teams, hotel staff told them that no payment had been made for the accommodations that had been booked. The arrival of a bunch of esports players was met with suspicion by the staff, who promptly contacted local police and began confiscating passports. For teams like Virtus.pro, Na'Vi, and Titan Esports, this incident could have had dire consequences, as they had plans to fly out to Dubai and compete in an ESL Invitational shortly after Gaming Paradise. Fortunately, the Gaming Paradise staff were able to resolve the dilemma, but international embassies had to be notified before passports were returned. Finally, being able to access their suites, the situation only got worse from here, as the rooms turned out to be nowhere near as luxurious as advertised. Teams were told that they would be given multiple apartment-sized rooms, but they all ended up having to share the same cramped accommodation, leaving some to sleep on the couch and floor. The list of complaints goes on and on, like how teams were promised a jacuzzi, but it turned out to be broken. Not that anyone could have used it anyways, because it turned out it was never paid for in the first place. It was around this time that the gaming paradise became lovingly referred to by many as Slovenian hell. Bullock seemed to become less and less reliable by the minute. An employee from Gaming RS said, quote, "He is a strange guy. He has good ideas, but he is really strange. He has an issue that he starts laughing when under pressure, so he was constantly laughing. It was really strange for us and we were getting really frustrated. Everything was going wrong, nothing was going right, and he was just standing there laughing about it." And the tournament hadn't even started yet. On the first day of the event, there was a rain delay, causing matches to be pushed to the second day, when teams were told they were going to play twice as much as they normally would. And when matches were supposed to begin, it was apparent that there were no PCs for the teams to actually play on. Allegedly, one of the transport trucks that was bringing in gaming PCs from an internet cafe in Belgium went MIA, and all that arrived at the venue were 144Hz monitors with no PC to connect them to. Some sources say that the computers were actually withheld due to the rental company not being paid to begin with. So, in an attempt to get the event up and running, organizers hobbled together some Frankenstein machines, procuring PCs that didn't have graphics cards, and while these PCs could barely run CSGO, they decided to go ahead and run the tournament anyway. The quality of the matches was actually pretty good, all things considered. Coming into grand finals, Kingwin was in winner's bracket and had one free win to work with. Plus, due to time constraints, they only had to play a best of 3 instead of the best of 5 that everyone was expecting. This meant that Kingwin won the tournament after winning only a single map against Na'Vi. Not that anyone got to see it, because the livestream was hosted exclusively through MLG, even though the tournament website was hosted on Hitbox. Either way, this meant there was no way to watch it on Twitch, and honestly it was a mess, as viewers were confused where to even see the event live. To make matters worse, for those who actually found the live stream, the quality was hot garbage. The result of poor internet and no one actually bothering to test the streaming setup beforehand. Unsurprisingly, the Dota 2 tournament, which was scheduled to happen right after the CSGO tournament, was cancelled, just one day before it was set to begin. Not that it came as a surprise to anyone. When Gaming Paradise was all said and done, many teams had to fly to Dubai for the next event, and weren't even paid out the prize money they were owed. Instead, they got an IOU, saying that they would be paid within 90 days of the event's end. They still haven't been paid to this day. Despite promising to pay out the prize pool in the future, Sasa Bullock's company filed for bankruptcy and are, for all intents and purposes, completely defunct. Gaming Paradise was a nightmare. Poor organization, confiscated passports, no gaming PCs. It was Murphy's Law in full effect. Whatever can go wrong, will go wrong. Despite the unquestionable failure that it was, Bullock maintains that, quote, "It was my first event, and I still did much better than anybody around." Well, it was also his last event, and Bullock hasn't made another stab at esports since then. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to Jason, B, Brendan, QB, David, Foxy, Iron, Lyra, Mauve, Nate, Sierra, Shampoo, Weebu, Spartacus, and Yashichi for being platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Steven, Noodles, Marco, Mookie, and Orioriol for being diamond supporters. We'd also like to extend an extra special shout out to Fool from the Art of Warfare for being our Grandmaster supporter. Thank you all for your continued support. If you also want to support our channel and unlock perks, check out the Patreon link in the description below or join our Discord server. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah. Thanks for watching.